Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the DME for Peace community, and welcome to this week's edition of the M&E Thursday Talks. These M&E Thursday Talks on DME for Peace are made possible with the support of the Carnegie Corporation of New York through the Peace Building Evaluation Consortium. My name is Jack Farrell, and I am the DME for Peace project manager at Search for Common Ground, based in a sweltering Washington, D.C. Today, I am delighted to welcome our guest, Behar Xharra, co-founder of Keshif, to the M&E Thursday Talks to lead a discussion on a practitioner's toolbox for data exploration and insights on impact. Just a note to our audience, you can ask questions throughout the webinar by writing a question in the question function on your GoToWebinar dashboard, and then we'll deal with that once Behar has finished speaking. So Behar, you're very welcome to the Thursday Talks. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Jack. Hello, everyone. Good day, good evening, good morning. I'm very happy to be presenting today. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and then present a bit about Keshif. As Jack said, I'm the co-founder of Keshif, having previously been focused on the international development field, having worked with UNICEF, UNDP, and a number of other government and non-governmental organizations. So I'm one of you that has moved into in the practical world of software development and building applications that are easy and able and enable users to do their work in terms of data science, data analytics. A bit about Keshif. I have only a few slides today, and I will take more of an applied approach. So what I will do is I'll talk a bit about Keshif and what we try to do and the value that we bring to the domain. I will then walk you through a transformation of a raw data set of incidents on aid workers worldwide. And then, if the time permits, I will present a few use cases where Keshif can be applicable beyond the events-based type of incident data. Keshif. So we have built Keshif to enable novices, not just data scientists or analysts, to explore and analyze data, discover trends and relations, and reach actionable insights rapidly and effortlessly. We have built the platform with the practitioner in mind. We have built it in a way to serve as a toolbox for the non-expert, as a way to enable individuals that are specialists on a particular area like peace building or development or environmental related issues, so they can use the data to feed into their day-to-day work and drive decisions. We have built Keshif with exploration in mind as the main value. What I mean by exploration is in-sync dashboards that are automated and that enable users to interact with data, to humanize data, and inspire users to question the data and find insights that are not as obvious from the first sight. We have worked with different organizations so far and have deployed our technology to enable data-driven insights for UNICEF, for the NIST, FHI 360, University of Maryland START program, the World Bank, Creative Associates, etc. I will move now into the applied aspect of my presentation, where I will take you through insights of 2,300 plus incidents on aid workers worldwide. Basically, this is a data set that shows who, what, when, where, and how in terms of the impact. I will switch the screens to go directly into the site. Sorry, this is not supposed to be shown now. And then I will go into, just 1 second. Google Chrome, perfect. Sorry, I am trying to make it work. Okay, perfect. So basically, I will take you through a whole data set of the aid workers incidents. I will sign into Keshif, and then I will make sure that you see how you would be able, as a practitioner without much skills into survey or data analytics, to transform a set of data into exploratory dashboards. So here is, I'm going to show you I'm going to show you the data set that consists of all these incidents across time, space, and themes. Here we can see the date, country, means of attack, attack context, location, latitude and longitude, so the point location where the exact incidence has happened, organization, personnel, if it's from an international organization, a UN related agency, if it's from an INGO or a local NGO or a natural resources organization. So outcomes, if nationals are killed, if internationals are killed, gender, and the number of people affected. And then at the end, we have a column that presents details on what actually happened in that particular incident. And as you can see here, we have about 2,399 incidents. With Keshif, this can be transformed automatically in a highly interactive visualization. So I'll just copy paste the link from this Google Sheet, and then I'll bring it and import it into Keshif. What the platform does, it enables you to see a quick preview of these 15 columns worth of data and then the first 10 rows. And then all you need to do is explore now. What Keshif does in the backend, it classifies all the types of data into categories, numeric or other types of data. The platform that we have built automatically looks at your data and understands them and suggests the particular charts. We also have here a boost or a smarter tool that enables the platform to go deeper into your data and then understand them if they are what they are, help you transform them further and then make them more visual in terms of, if it's latitude and longitude, it understands that it's a map, a point map. If it's a date and spreadsheet, then it turns it into days, months, and weeks. If it's organizations that are separated by comma, then it enables you to turn them into categories, etc. So I'll just press OK, and then automatically Keshif will load a map for you. And this map shows every incident around the world inside this data set. Right here, you can see the size of the round or the circle shows one circle shows one incident. The sizes can be changed to be made smaller, and then we can start looking at different metrics here. So timestamp, I can just double click, and then automatically Keshif will create a timeline for you. And then here we can, as we are building the dashboard, we can start seeing insights. So we see in 2013, there have been about 265 incidents on aid workers. Then I will bring in another category, let's say the attack context. So I can either drag and drop into one of these pre-built areas, or I will just drop it here. And then I will also bring the type of organization. And then perhaps I will bring in gender. I can also bring in countries here, but for the time being, I can minimize that. So as you can see, countries, there is already a visual interactive map. Then I will go into the edit mode. So I can look at these panels. I can make them bigger or smaller depending on the need, on the use that you may have. So I'll go a bit quicker here, and then all of a sudden you can start seeing a clear visualization. So the idea is not just the visualization itself. The idea is to drive you or to bring you and inspire you to go and explore the data. What does it mean to have 1,003 male incidents of where where the victims of those incidents were 1,300 of them were males, 909 of them were unknown, and then 215 were females. As you can see, just by bringing the mouse on hover, we can start getting insights into what the data may show. So let's say we are interested in ambushes and attacks. There's about 771 incidents. And then right away, you can see how this is highly synchronized across every single category or variable. And then just by bringing the mouse on hover on ambush attacks, you can see in the map that the incidents highlight with the orange color. And then in the date or in the timeline view, you can see that in between January 2013 and January 2014, there has been higher amounts of incidents around the world on aid workers. I can start filtering, so then I will look into just these 771 incidents. Now we can see that of those 771 incidents, 476 of them were male, 301 were unknown, 60 of the victims were female. And then 361 were members of international NGOs, about 223 were members of the UN. If I want to start looking at comparing, right, how attacks on INGOs during, ambush attacks on NGOs, INGOs look like compared to those on the UN. So I'll just create a selection. So then here in the map, I will just zoom in into this part of Africa, and then I will go here and increase the dot size to be able to show a better view of the incidents. And then we can see where members or basically aid workers that were members of INGOs are highlighted with a dark color, whereas the ones from the UN agencies are highlighted with the purple color. And then here you can see how they would basically be able, how you would be able to look at the trends on these attacks based on the colors, right? There is another way that we can look at this data. So we can just, with one click, we can move from absolute numbers into percentages. So let me remove these filters that I already showed you. And then we can see that in 2,317 incidents, about 58% of them were male, 39% on the attacks were unknown, and then 9% were female. So then we can look at it from all these perspectives. Another way, what Keshif will enable you is if you have a need to understand also, what are the types or the means, the means of attack. So then you can bring that chart into here. So then you can add a fourth or a fifth category of variables to start looking into. So if I'm looking just at shootings in INGOs, then I will get more information on the particular filtering system. You will be able to also filter directly on the map. So if we are looking at, let's say, in the Pakistan or Afghanistan region, then we can start looking at, that type of filtering. Sorry, I will need to move back into the mouse mode so I can drag the. All right, so if some of you are based in Afghanistan and would like to know how how incidents are faring in the country in terms of aid workers, and then you would like to focus on the Herat region, then as you can see, just by filtering around the map, I can see how all the other variables correspond to that. So just in Herat, we can see that there's about 490 incidents in the past 10 years. And of these incidents, 41% of them, the attacks were on males, 10% of them in females, and then the rest were unknown. If I can I'll remove all the filters. And then I'll show you how you will be able, using Keshif, to save and share these types of. Oh, sorry. Let me go to the mouse mode again. How you will be able to save and share these dashboards. So the first dashboard that we'll save and share will be this particular one. And then we can just click in here, and then we can say overview of incidents. And Keshif automatically generates a dashboard view for you. And then the second one, what we can do is we can create a new dashboard view with the same subset of data, and then bring in countries to see another chloropluth map, and perhaps just the types of or the attack context. Apologies. And then we can look at here, if you are interested in understanding incidents through text, and then can look at those by the total number of individuals affected. So then you can be able to look at each, so let's say each incident in a particular country. This one is in Afghanistan that happened on 3 October 2015, and it happened during combat or crossfire. You can click on here and you can get all the information. So all the information, detailed information about the particular incident. So then we can go and say text view incident, and then we can save this. What I will be able to do is I will be able to take these, copy, and then go into the webinar chat, and then I'll paste it for you. So then you will be able to see the whole view and then go and explore the data. So the idea is not to just look into or focus into the visualization of different data sets that you have, but it's also to inspire exploration and start discussing and interacting with the data. So now I'm just looking at in Sudan on combat and crossfire attacks. There are about 12 incidents, and then I get here each of these incidents that happen over a period of time. The idea with Keshif is, visualization and charting should not be the end goal, but we make the visualizations a byproduct of the process and gaining insight to drive decisions at the end of the result. I will go back to my screen, and then I will show you one slide that I'd like to leave you with. Let me see. All right, very good. That is about exploration, and that is the value that we see in Keshif and what we try to inspire, right? When we look at the universe, there are things we know, and then things we know that we don't know, then we go and ask and find, right? And then the last part of it is things we don't know that we don't know, and therefore we explore. This way, we try to enable to provide an ecosystem within Keshif that is not just a visualization and charting tool, but it's a tool that can enable you to look at the information and data and results and insights from different perspectives, be it in relative terms, be it in across geography, across themes, or otherwise. I would like to point you to a few other use cases in the meantime of how Keshif can be how Keshif can apply to the type of use cases in terms of peace building, conflict mitigation, and other related topics. We have worked with USAID and IREX in enabling them to transform the data set for their media sustainability index. So for the past 17 years, IREX has been collecting data and scoring countries in different types of indicators. So this is basically the indicator on the overall score, but you can look at it from freedom of speech, etc., across geography and years. So colors represent different scores. The lighter the score, the better the lighter the color, the better the score. The darker the color, the lower the score. So in this case, from Belarus, you can get a quick view of the tooltip that shows that Belarus in 2003 was towards the unsustainable score for the media freedom or the freedom of speech. You can click on it and then you can get a detailed view of the country profile. So you can look at each indicator, a timeline for each indicator over time, and then we can see that over time, Belarus showed an increase or an improvement in the overall score of the media sustainability. If I look at this particular drop here in 2017 in the freedom of speech, then I can get automatically the report where I can go and look at it. So here, basically, there are all the reports that we're able to put within the country profile to serve as a knowledge management source for individuals that are looking at trying to understand data, these index scores over time. Another way to look at this map is basically by pressing autoplay, and you see how over years the scores are changing and the presentation of it shows where the world has been going in terms of the freedom of speech. Another view to see the data would be through time trends. So this is a timeline, and there is the x-axis serves as a way to show the years, whereas the y-axis tells the scores. Here, basically, you can see Kosovo, how it's done over years, or we'll be able to compare different regions. So just by by quickly highlighting different regions, we're able to look at the data and start analyzing how they've been doing. The same way here, you will be able to click on the particular country and go to the detailed profile. There's other ways to look at the data. This one is by value, and we can move into ranking. And the ranking basically shows how an X country started here in 2001, but now Croatia in 2018 is about 5th. Another way to look at the data, we can plot them by percentage. So if you're interested to know, all right, since 2010, how have countries, basically country scores, fared? Then we can see that Uzbekistan, Belarus, and Moldova have had some of the most significant increases over time. There is another view that we can look at it. Basically, it's through a ranking system. Let me remove the filters. In 2018, Kosovo, Albania, Montenegro, and Moldova were ranked #1. But if we look at 2008, then Bulgaria, Bosnia, and Romania were top 3. If we want to learn more about individual scores and how they weight in the overall score, how each indicator weighs in the overall score, then we can look at it in terms of the score amount and if they are in that sustainable and the change over time. There is another view, and I will stop after this, that you could see. Basically, it's a scatter plot where you'll be able to look and compare two different types of variables with a third one in terms of color. And then here, if we just animate, you can see how each country moves over time, or each region looks like they're moving in terms of their state of media sustainability. There's other tools or other type of applications that Keshif can fit with if your organization has a network data, so you have a network of community of practitioners, and then you're looking at the types of skills that they have, or the types of institutions that they belong to, or where geography they are from. Then you can apply the Keshif technology to visualize the directory of your network in that way. For example, if we're looking at just the Swedish data journalists, we can click on Sweden, and then here we will see the 4 individuals, and then I can just click on here on the web page of this individual, and it can take me there, except it doesn't work. Other ways of using Keshif is basically if you produce a lot of reports and you need a knowledge management system, through a very easy way, you can add metadata to each report and then be able to sift through them over time. So let's say we're interested only in October 2017. And then this is an actual case with UNICEF in South Sudan, their reports. So if we just want to look at the Juba crisis update, then we can click on it, and then we can go into 22 August 2016 that relates to children, and then we click on it, and you can open you can open the actual report. There are other use cases, like this one is also in South Sudan with the food and population information. So let's say population in crisis over time, and then you can see how those change over time. You can click on a particular county. So these basically, it's a way to show you how Keshif can look not just in world countries and not only in events-based data set, but also on time-bound indicator-based indexes. And here you can see each of the indicators and how the population increased or decreased over time. I will stop with here and open up for Q&A. Jack, off to you. I'd be happy to talk more about the value of Keshif and what practitioners will be able to do. We'll be happy to sit with you afterwards to provide a quick training. If you are using public data, then Keshif is free. Otherwise, we've built it with keeping in mind practitioners, so it's low cost, low bandwidth, and it can connect to any type of data in the cloud. So if you have data in Google Sheets or in OneDrive or in Dropbox or other database management tools, then Keshif will easily connect and enable you to visualize those data.
Great, thank you very much, Behar. You've given us a lot to think about, and thank you for talking us through Keshif. For those of you in the audience, we're now going to open up to questions. A couple of notes about our format for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Thursday Talks. You can submit a question one of 2 ways. The first is to type your question through the question function on GoToWebinar. The second is to click on the little hand icon on your GoToWebinar dashboard. That will allow us to unmute your microphone so you can ask your question live. When you do submit your question, we ask that you submit your name and affiliation. And just a note, these talks are recorded and posted on DME for Peace, so that those who are not able to join us at this time can go back and listen to our wider discussion. So Behar, I just wanted to sort of get into sort of more of the theoretical things behind Keshif. So what were you seeing within NGOs, within the NGO space that prompted you to develop a piece of software like Keshif? What was it about data analysis that NGOs weren't getting, and what really why did you guys start this?
Yeah, Well, I mean, there's thanks, Jack. There's a few points that we always had in mind when we're looking at it. My partner Adil, he spent about 4 or 5 years of his PhD on trying to understand how to remove complexities out of data. Not everyone is a data scientist, therefore data become just a monopoly of those. So the idea was understanding the literacy, data literacy or data capacity gaps, and then access to tools. That was kind of the premise of starting to look into building a platform that is easy, or the easiest and fastest way to go from something that looks raw into a highly interactive visualization. The other one is, we realize that there's a lot of tools there that are quite robust and advanced, and they have multiple ways of visualizing data or creating beautiful charts. But our idea was, those require a lot of training resources and usually come with a lot of cost. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to simplify those processes, create an automated chart building platform rather than giving too much options of changing the colors, etc., to enable international development organizations, local NGOs, and practitioners, individuals, to cut through the whole process of thinking, what it is that I want to visualize, what it is or how it is that I would like to visualize, what would be an applicable chart. So what we do as Keshif, we basically take you through, or basically make you skip that whole process and put the value more in insights and exploration rather than in the visualization. What we realize with a lot of organization is that there's a lot of time and effort put into figuring out how you want the data to look like.
Yes. Behar, just to interrupt, because I think this feeds on quite well. We got a couple of questions from Alicia Clifton in Search for Common Ground and Carla Handley of Arizona State University on how they've used Tableau, NVivo, Deduce, etc. And they're just asking sort of how Keshif is different
Yes.
from these these more sort of well-known softwares.
Yes. Well, I mean, I guess my counter question would be, what do you think is different? But I'll give you, I guess, a brief answer. Tableau is the market leader. It enables individuals to go through, to have access to hundreds of tools to build very beautiful charts that can be exportable into reports, etc. What we focus on is, but with Tableau, then what that comes with is not just the cost of accessing the tool, but also the cost of learning the tool. And we realize that in the international development domain, these capacities, either learning, are really mostly tailored to the data scientists or the very expert-driven individuals rather than to the common practitioners. So what we did, and the direction that we took differently, was basically to automate the understanding of the data you have and showing you, through a drag and drop type of chart building dashboard that is fully in sync. And second, it's focusing more on the exploration and insights rather than presentation. As I walked you through the process a bit, with one click you could move from percentages to relative numbers. You would be able to filter, to select, to cross tabulate through a visual way the information and interact with the data that is much faster than you would otherwise do it in other platforms.
Great, thank you, Behar. We have a raised hand in the audience from Ali Musavi. Ali, your microphone is now live. Please ask your question to Behar.
So thank you very much for the opportunity and very interesting tools that you provided, and also I would like to thank the organizer. The first question, I'm at the, as I mentioned here, I have written that I'm a senior advisor at George Mason University, Department of Conflict Resolution. And I have three questions. Does it, Keshif, I'm talking about Keshif, does it support Persian language and other languages in Spanish and Korean language? And specifically, to be more specific, about Iran and Cuba and Sudan, which is was my previous PhD research. I'm really curious about that. The second question is about the other tools that you can introduce, at least talk about the topics in addition to Keshif, to be used in the area of peace building, conflict resolution, and conflict prevention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. I'm not fully certain as to your second question, but I will take a stab at it, and then please feel free to clarify it. In terms of the first question, support of different languages, yes, this is a modern technology that easily integrates different keyboards and different types of languages. You will be able to pulling a lot of info. Right now, you can go and import a data set and then be able to start sifting through those data. Keshif basically understands tabular data. That's the language that it speaks, rows and columns, and then whatever is in there, then it's easily transferable into a visual and interactive manner. In terms of your question about other tools, what I understood was that
I think it's a question of can you like integrate? Does Keshif work with other pieces of software? So for example, yeah.
Yeah. So Keshif is a closed ecosystem that cannot move into another platform. However, we integrate Keshif with other platforms in terms of pulling in specific types of visualization. Let's say if you're looking at link and node analysis, then we look at existing type of tools, and then we bring them into Keshif. If you are doing a lot of map layers, etc., and using Mapbox, then we're able to bring in or integrate with the Mapbox. The same goes with importing data, right? So the way I showed you the data set with incidents on 8 workers, that is basically I pulled the information directly from Google Sheets. So if you have data sitting on another tool, then you will be able to pull them off of there. Keshif is a web browser-based library, so you don't need to install anything or import data into there. So we don't own your data. We only read over the data that you hold in one of these platforms.
Great. Thank you, Behar. I think our next question comes from Maureen Sissing. Maureen is an independent consultant based in Geneva. Maureen writes, thank you for a great presentation. What are the requirements of the data set for use in Keshif?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, the data needs to be structured and in a way that is formatable. So you just need to have the first row where it describes what each column represents, and then the rest basically is as a usual data set. So if you're looking at more raw data, that's better, because then Keshif will enable you to go from overview to detail. But if you are looking at in terms of the size, then whatever an Excel sheet can hold or whatever a Google sheet can hold, then you will be able to pull that automatically and quickly into Keshif.
And one question I have, Behar, regarding sort of the data management. So for example, if I had 150 evaluations from different conflicts around the world, and these evaluations are 70 pages long, I upload them all to Keshif. How would I need to code all those evaluations, or do you guys have an algorithmic crawler or any kind of sort of machine learning system that is able to sort of pull key insights from documents, or is it all, does it have to be coded by the user first?
Yes, so data preparation is necessary before you visualize into Keshif or bring it into Keshif. We have some tools there that I showed with Boost or with the edit version where you can go directly on the front end on the UI and be able to rename categories, but you would need to do most of the work beforehand in terms of making sure that the data are organized and are named properly.
And I know a couple of people, Behar, have asked about sort of how they can access Keshif. So I wondered, could you just go, I know you mentioned briefly that it's free to access for most local organizations, but I was wondering if you could just provide sort of a brief overview of that. And if possible, if you send me the link, I can make sure that everybody in the audience today gets access to the link where they can see if Keshif is viable for them.
Fantastic, I will do so. So if you just go to keshif.me and then you click Explore Data, then this will take you directly into a sign up window, and then you then can connect the different types to different types of data sources. So if you have Google Sheets or OneDrive, then you will be able to connect directly from there. It is a very easy process. It doesn't take more than a minute. I could basically click in here, and then it just takes you to explore.keshif.me. It already takes me into my account, but you would have to go through you know, a very simple process of registering.
And working, sorry, so we've seen your work with UNICEF and these other groups. How are you working with local organizations to make sure that they get access to something like this?
Yes, so we have worked also on a pilot program for data capacity with the State Department with 8 local NGOs in Kosovo on the topic of transparency and advocacy. So basically, we deployed a whole methodology of training, access to technology, to our technology and contextualization, including one-on-one consultations. And through that program, we basically, it was about 20 hours of engagement. And through the program, we enabled each of these 8 organizations to build an application, a data-first application that then they were able to promote it publicly or use it to do an advocacy outreach or also solve a particular data-driven insight issue. So we were, one of the organizations basically had deployed the Fix My Community platform, where they're engaging citizens to report potholes and trash around the streets in Kosovo. So they were able to gather a lot of information, but they're not able to explore and find insights. So throughout this program, we helped them create a set of dashboards that then they were able to go and present to the Ministry of Environment and other related ministries. There was another organization that was working on transparency in the local level in terms of looking at the expense sheets of municipalities and making them public and helping local municipality councilors understand where the money is going, to what type of companies are getting the bids, etc., or what are even per diems of the mayor and what staff. So we helped them turn the data that they had received from the Ministry of Finance into an application that then they were able to use both for training of these counselors and then presentation for the public.
Great. Well, Thank you very much, Behar. We are at time today. And thank you to everyone for joining this edition of the M&E Thursday Talks. For those of you who are curious about Keshif and don't have access to your computer or laptop right now, this recording will be posted online on the DME for Peace Media Gallery later today. We'll include all the necessary links and information that you need. So please feel free to return to it, share it with your colleagues, and if you have any questions, continue the discussion online in the comment section. We're going to be back in a couple of weeks with the M&E Thursday Talks. You will have more information about those in your inbox in the not too distant future. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Behar, again for being a wonderful host, and I will see you all online in the not too distant future.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, and feel free to reach out at info@keshif.me for any support that you may need with your data.
Thanks all.